What's up, guys? Welcome back. Keeping it going with the Fortin Madness right now. I'm loving the plugin, and I finally got a little bit of time to actually dial in a better preset. I'm going to share that with you guys in a second and kind of run through it and show you how I got that tone. But before I do that, I wanted to touch on something regarding dialing in a good tone, and this applies to this plugin and any other plugin that you guys are currently trying to get a good tone in. A lot of times people really put a lot of focus on the amp sim. Now the amp sim is really important. Obviously when you're talking about like Fortin and these big name amplifiers, it is really important that those amp sims sound a lot like the amp that they're trying to model. But the part that everybody for some reason skips over, and I rarely hear it talked about even when these things are coming out, is the impulse responses. Now the impulse response, for you guys that don't know, is going to be your cab section. A lot of times you guys are going to buy the exact same plugin as everyone else, and you're going to have a hard time achieving the same tone that everybody else is getting. And you're going to wonder if it's your audio interface, you're going to wonder if it's your DAW, you're going to wonder, is it my guitar, or do I just plain suck at setting up a good tone through a plugin? And a lot of times that's not the case. A lot of times it's the impulse response. Now, on mine, a while back, I was just kind of searching through the ether, going through the internet, and I found a free impulse response of a Hesu cab. I don't know which Hesu cab. I don't know. I have no clue where it came from. I downloaded it so long ago that it was just one of those things where I was looking for free plugins and it happened to pop up, so I downloaded it. And it turned out to be a really, really good impulse response. So what I do every single time I get a new plugin is I try to dial in the best tone I can using their cab section, and then I throw in my own impulse response to see if it sounds good. Now, this isn't always going to be the case. It's not always going to sound better. For example, the STL Tonality, the Howard Benson plugin, that one sounded amazing with their cab section. As soon as I loaded in my impulse response, the tone that I got out of it didn't sound so good. So I left that one out of it, and their cab section works best with their amp sims. So that's just an example of how it's not always going to work out, but oftentimes for me it works out that this impulse response works out really well, and it's always good to have one because that way you can go through the internet. There's a lot of free amp sims out there that don't have cab sections included. There's a whole bunch of plugins that are out there that don't have an all-in-one effects, cab section, an amp sim put together. So it's good to have one of these so that if you ever do, you can just kind of download an impulse response loader and you can download these other amp sim, put them together, and then get a killer tone. So with that said, let's dive into this. I'm going to show you guys the tone that I got out of the NTS, and I'm also going to go through my Fortin Nameless Sweet tone that I dialed in a while back. So yeah, let's dive into this and check this out. All right, guys, so I have my Fortin NTS up right now. I'm not going to get into every knob and how I ended up there because it was just kind of a process of elimination over time, but this is what I ended up with here. My mid is somewhere around noon, treble is up there, bass is up there. The kill switch is engaged, and this is what I ended up doing with the girth, the grind, and the gain is somewhere around here. It's actually a little bit high. I kind of messed with it a second ago, but over here in the NTS section, here's the depth and presence. Not really usually too big on presence when it comes to these amp sims, but this one didn't sound too bad. It gave it a pretty good high end when I turned it up. So over here in the pedal section, I have the grind turned on. I'm not using the hex drive, and of course the Zool is engaged. So now to the important part, my cab section. So I uploaded my own impulse response on both sides instead of using theirs. Not to say that theirs are bad, theirs are really good. I just prefer this sound with it being coupled with these Fortin plugins. So let's check out what that sounds like, and this is what I ended up with. Okay, so that's my preset for the NTS. So let's kind of move on to the the Fortin Nameless. All right, guys. So I have my Nameless suite up now, and you guys can see here. You guys see the preset that I have for this. This is without my own impulse response loaded. So this is where the gain's at, which it's exactly the same once I load the impulse response. But this is what it sounds like without the impulse response. Cool. This is what my cab section looks like. On this one, I have the ribbon 160 and the ribbon 121 on this one. This is where my microphones are at. And yeah, so this is what it sounds like once I load in my impulse response. Let's go down here. Of course, I have no idea where I put this thing. I move it all the time. There we go. Beast impulse response. Load this thing in. Come on, buddy. Cool. All right, so this is what that sounds like now. Now that first tone, it's really hard to get any better than that Fortin tone. That's that stock tone without the impulse response. This just kind of gives me a tone that I prefer a little bit more. It's not necessarily better, but it's like I said, Fortin. It's hard to make it sound better, but. All right, guys, so that's pretty much it. Like I said, if you guys are downloading these brand new and you guys are having a hard time achieving that tone that you see maybe other people getting out of it, just realize that the more you guys learn about these plugins, the more you learn about the plugin game overall, the more control you're gonna have over each one of your plugins and the better tone you can get out of it. It took me a long time to realize that an impulse response even mattered. It took me a long time to realize what an impulse response even was. I had no idea. So once I figured it out though, I realized that that has a lot to do with how good the tone sounds out of these plugins. So I hope this helps some of you guys out there who are struggling with some of these plugins. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments. I answer as many as I can. So yeah, like and subscribe as always. Have a good day, guys. Take care.